Hello, my crafty Christmas peeps. It's Cheyenne, and this is, I believe, my first Christmas card of the season. Yay! You can see I'm using some Stampin' Up! Stuff. I've got the hardwood background stamp. I love this stamp. The Merry Little Labels stamp set, which you can get a coordinating punch for, and it is in the current holiday catalog. You can see there I'm using the retired Christmas Magic set, but I'm just using that Merriest Wishes sentiment. Oh, I've got a piece of very vanilla thick cardstock. I love the thick cardstock for my card bases. Got a piece of lemon lime twist, a very vanilla, a cherry cobbler, and a basic black piece. Now I love the Stampin' Up! Cardstock. It is really wonderful stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of embossing on this card, so I've got my Versamark, my embossing powders. I forget my embossing buddy, but it is what it is. I'm also using my Tim Holtz platform. I'm still getting the hang of using this, but once I do, it's going to be fantastic. So I'm using it to stamp my hardwood stamp background onto a piece of very vanilla cardstock. And remember to have it on the right side. One side's for rubber, one side's for clear. And I'm inking that up good and well with my Versamark ink pad. And then I'll be stamping it over. One of the things I love about these stamp positioners is that you can very easily restamp if you have an issue. Now, because I was wanting a full image, I probably should have left the very vanilla cardstock bigger than I wanted it, but I wasn't thinking that far ahead. So I just kind of marked where I wanted it to be with some washi tape, just so I could, like, you know, maybe reposition it if I needed to. And I'm using the Stampin' Up! Gold embossing powder on the very vanilla piece, and this is just a gorgeous combination. And just heat up your heat tool before applying it to your project. Get it good and hot, and then just watch the magic of melting embossing powder. It's truly wonderful. I really cannot speak highly enough for heat embossing, and it's really a rather inexpensive way to add some extra shine and bling to your projects. All right, now I've got a smaller piece of very vanilla, and I am just going to get that Eat, Drink, and Be Merry sentiment from the Christmas Labels, Merry Little Labels stamp set, and I'm going to be cutting out with a stitch circle. So I just wanted to make sure I had it positioned so that I could cut it out quite nicely, and that I'm going to emboss with the Stampin' Up! Gold as well. And this is just gorgeous. I love it, love it, love it. And then let's see, what are we going to do next? We're going to do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stamp onto a piece of basic black that I had scrapped, and I'm going to emboss it with some white. I thought maybe having this as a little like chalkboard effect would be really lovely. So I have a lot of fun stamping on basic black and then embossing with the white embossing powder, which is also why I did it with the Merriest Wishes sentiment. Now, if you do make a whoopsie, you can go ahead and wipe it off before you use your heat tool and heat set it. You can see I saw that I was like, oh, I forgot my embossing buddy. Man, I'm out of practice. Okay, now it's time to get the big shot out, and we are going to be cutting things. So I've got the stitch tape circle that fits around it quite nicely, and a scalloped circle from the Layering Circles die set, and I'm cutting that out of cherry cobbler, and I'm going to need 2 of those, so I go ahead and cut that out. And then just run it through. It is so handy to have a big shot around where you can just quickly cut these out. And as much as I love my Cricut, it really doesn't do a stitch shape very well. And when you're using a die, it also almost kind of, it impresses down on the edges a little bit, so it's almost kind of a bubbled shape. I don't know, it does something with the edges because it's being compressed through. All right, now let's start putting the card together. I'm using my ATG gun, and I'm glad to have this back in rotation. So I'm starting to adhere things down, and then I realized, let's get some of that Whisper White craft ink. This is a pigment ink from Stampin' Up, and I'm just taking a little piece of one of their sponge rounds, and I'm just inking up the edges, you know, making it look like a distressed chalkboard, like, you know, it's been used and all of that. So that's fun. And then we've got some Stampin' Dimensionals, which are always a good thing. I love any sort of foam dimension, but I think that these are just the perfect thickness for adding onto your projects. I've got some that are just way too thick for anything realistic. So here I've got a just fun foam that I got from Walmart, and I'm going to go ahead and raise up my card. This is a nice technique when you're thinking you're going to send these through the mail and you don't want it squished and you don't want to use up all of your dimensions, your foam adhesives, that sort of thing. I do find the ATG gun doesn't quite work, so when I have actual, you know, stuff in my glue, my Scotch Quick Dry glue, which is not what it's called anymore, yeah, I find that it helps to have something in the bottle. So here I am, like, struggling with, oh, maybe it's clogged or something. No, it's not clogged. I just need to put more in the bottle. But once you actually get that going, it's quite lovely to adhere everything down. So there I am, adhering it down, and then I'll adhere it onto the card base, and it's going to be just wonderful. Lots of even dimension across everything. See, here I am, I'm fiddling with it again. Sometimes you just got to fiddle with your glue because you never quite know what's going on. Same thing with like glitter glues, stickles, Nouveau drops. Every now and again you just got to, you know, do a little maintenance on them. It's okay. It's just part of crafting, especially if it's a color or something that you don't use as often. And then I decide, well, you know, let me just check them all. And then it's like, okay, no, I'm filming a video. I've got to get back to this. So getting that adhesive on and having fun and trying to get it all shook out, because this is the point I think, well, maybe I should just put more in. Adhering that down and then adhering on everything. This is where I'm kind of deciding what I want to go there. So I'm kind of showing you a couple different ideas. So I've got that, and I decide, you know, I don't really, you know, necessarily want things the way I thought that I did. That's how it goes when you're crafting. You know, you're like, all right, well, I thought that would look better. Because I actually thought the one that I gold embossed would look better on that. But turns out I liked the chalkboard one better. It did more for it. And then I've got my Nouveau drops, and I just added a few on there. I used the white Blizzard glitter drops, and yeah, it turned out really quite lovely. And then I decided, since I had the other label, let's go ahead and put a card together for that one. So I'm using this Echo Park paper pad, and I love this Christmas collection. It is adorable, and I can get it on Snap Click Supply Company. I believe that's the name of it. So my Mickey printables that I did on my Cricut machine for like my die cut paper pack, I can do the same thing with the Echo Park kits, and I love that. So I've picked out this paper, and this is actually the same piece of 6x6 paper. So on one side I'm using this little poinsettia with the wood grain background, and the other side, which is a red and black plaid, I am going ahead and using that. And it's going to make for a very nice plaid background banner, so that the eat, drink, and be merry little circle there, it just pops it up a little bit more. It's not going to blend so much in the background. And I've got pieces of basic black that I'm using to really pop it up as well. And you can see that the original Echo Park paper I did matte on a piece of black cardstock too, some more basic black. I like doing that. So I'll cut my cards are standard A2, so they are like 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4.25, or they are 4.25 by 11 scored at 5.5, but that'll make the front of the card about the same. So my first layer is usually going to be 4 by 5.25. But if you go up 1/8 of an inch on everything, like a piece of matte paper, then that'll just put like the tiniest little sliver of color around it. So it's 4 1/8 by 5 5/8, I think it is. But it just go up to that next little line when you're cutting your mat for that, and it's really a lovely effect. And now I've got more of the White Blizzard glitter drops that I am just popping on there. Now, a lot of the tricks that I used for this card are from Jennifer McGuire. The foam on the back of the card, that was a whole lot of Jennifer McGuire, and the different ways to use Nuvo drops. Like, I was inspired by her, really am. She's fantastic. I went back and I added some of the glossy white Nuvo drops too. I'll make sure that you let those Nuvo drops, you know, set and cure for 24 hours before you attempt to do anything with them. That's going to ensure that it is dry all the way through and they're not going to get squished down or misshapen. Oh, there are the cards, and that is it for today's tutorial. I'm so happy with how these look, and until next time, happy crafting! If you liked what you saw, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you haven't already. And here's a few videos that you might be interested in watching. And you can also visit my website and blog for more project ideas and inspirations, or to contact me about booking a magical Disney vacation.